Okay, now I'll go step by step. So what's the first thing you have to do? You have to download the Eve ng VM from Eve ng website. So I'll share the link with you guys. You can actually go ahead and download that. So if you go to the Eve ng website, you will see downloads option. So click on downloads and you have to choose from professional or community. Professional it's paid and community it's free, and you can choose any of the OVF files over here. And you can download the VMware Workstation Player as well. It's free if in case you don't have VMware Workstation Pro. Okay. So second one will be to download and install VM Workstation Pro. Okay. So once you download your VMware Workstation Pro, the next step is to you have to install virtual interfaces. Okay. So how to install the virtual interfaces? You have to open, once you install the VMware Workstation Pro, you have to open the virtual network editor. All right. Your VMnet 0 should be mapped to your wireless card. Through this, you will get the internet access. Your VMnet 1 should be 10.1.1.0. You can take any other IP, but in my case, I have taken 10.1.1.0. So VMnet 0 should be mapped to your Wi-Fi or your wireless card on your computer. VMnet 1 should be mapped to 10.1.1.0, and I'm just making it specific, no DHCP. Okay, and this will be used for management of any image or device that you map. VMnet 8 will be used for you can give any IP, but in my case I have given this, and I have enabled the DHCP service. This will be used for my EVNG console and internet. Okay, because this is a NAT interface. Guys, clear till here? Any doubts? Anyone? You can ask me. Okay. Next step is to install and map EVNG to your in your VMware workstation. So once you install and map EVNG, what you do, you have to go to your workstation and click on settings. So once you click on settings, you have to add. You have to add what? Network adapter. Okay, because you will see it will have only one adapter. So you add a network adapter. How to do that? Just click on add over here, select network adapter and click on finish. Okay, so the network adapter will be added. Once you add the network adapter, you have to map the network adapters. Okay, so the first network adapter will be your VMnet 8, which is NAT, and second will be your VMnet 1. Clear, guys? So you can see 8 and 1, and you can define the memory, processor, whatever it is. Okay, once you do that, again there's one more catch over here. You have to edit one config file. So you have to go to the location where you have downloaded your VM. So it will be obviously your hold on, where is that? Okay, in my case, I have chosen, I think, a different folder, I believe. Yep. So in your case, it will be C documents, and the VM folder, it will say virtual machine. Okay. So there you can go, and you have to select the file which says evng machine configuration. Okay, this one. So I'll just mention that. So this is the fifth step. Sixth step to map the interfaces. Seventh step to edit evcom config file. So how to edit that? You just have to right click on this and click on open with notepad. Once you open the notepad, you will see the Ethernet 0 virtual dev. So it says what? VMX net 3. If you go down further down, you will see Ethernet 1 dot virtual dev. Over here, it will be mentioned as E1000. You have to change it to VMX net 3. Okay. So I'll just mention that this line I'll just copy and paste it over here. Config file. Okay. You have to change the line to this one. Clear, guys? So once you do that, you can save it and close. Once it is saved, you can actually map your VM, and then you have to wait. Okay, once you then you have to map evng VM in, or let's say map or import, actually that's the right term, import evng VM into VMware workstation. Okay, once the mapping is done, last thing is you have to open the adapter settings in your computer. So you go to your control panel, network and sharing center, adapter settings, change. Okay, now VMnet 1, guys, you have to go to properties, TCP IP v4, and VMnet 1 you have to define this IP address static. Okay, and give the separate mask. All right, and for your VMnet 8, you have to go to properties, sorry, and you have to select open IP address automatically, so this should be dynamic. All right, so once you do all this, you should be good to go. Then you can actually switch on your machine, and you will see your evng console. Guys, clear?
Anupam,
Yep.
Anupam, can you show me your virtual network editor? Like, yeah, in that VMnet one,
Mhm.
I'm seeing a different host IP. It's an DHCP server IP which I'm getting.
So you can customize that. You can click on change settings. You can customize that.
Okay, so I can use the same IP which you have used, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So and for VMnet 8, uh, that is my DHCP. So you need not change it. So these remain same, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can give any IP address. I have used 192.168.23 subnet.
Okay, okay, all good.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So guys, your EVNG will work over here. You can log in, but now the main thing comes about your adding nodes. Okay. So I've told you that you need to install what? WinSCP. Okay. So once your VM is up and working, you have to launch WinSCP, and you can give the IP 192.168.23.100. Okay, you give the username and password. So you can see over here that my this is the WinSCP for my EVNG. Okay, so you have to go to the opt folder, unit lab, add-ons. So I will send you the location and everything. It has all the details. Plus, I will send you a link where you can actually add the Palo Alto, image. It's a YouTube video. You can follow that. Then you have to go to QMove folder. So you can see right now I have all these images. ASA, I have Cisco ASA, ASAV. I have F5 CSR 1000 Cisco. I have a Linux desktop, Nexus 7K, 9K, Palo Alto, Windows Server, Windows XP. Okay, and all these are in which image? HDA.QCOW2. Okay, so once you map all this, you come back to your EVNG and you can actually click on new lab, create a new lab, save, and once you right click, if you type in Palo, you will see that Palo Alto is in, it's not grayed out, it's blue in color, like the one. Okay, and you can see the image over here. Guys, clear till here? Any doubts, anyone? I'll send you the link and the steps, everything one by one. You can actually go ahead and follow that. And I will send you a YouTube link also. You can follow to, map and add the nodes. Clear, everyone? Any doubts? Any questions?
No.
No.
Okay. Now, for some of you guys, you might have a problem with the computer capacity. Let's say right now I'm running I think 32 gigs of memory. Okay, and 8 gigs is the minimum that is recommended. And if you have 8 gigs, if you install EVNG it and if you map the Palo Alto images, it might work slow. So the second option, what you can do, you can host your EVNG in in the cloud, either in AWS or Google. But you have to pay $300. That is after 1 year. So for 1 year it is free. Okay, guys, you're getting my point. You have to sign up and you will get 300 dollars to spend on Google Cloud platform over next 12 months. Okay, so you don't have to pay anything as of now. You will get 12. I mean, for 1 year you will get all the instances free, and after 1 year you have to pay. You can host the same on AWS Cloud as well. Guys, clear?
Yeah. So in AWS, we can create an instance of Windows 10 and we can use it in it, right?
Not Windows 10. You have to do the Ubuntu Linux. You have to do a, I mean, you have
Okay.
to create a Ubuntu Linux, I think 10.4 or 12.4 instance. Over there, you can
Okay.
install your, I mean, map your event GVM, and there are, certain
Mhm.
commands you have to run because in Linux, the Ethernet, actually, I'll show you. Hold on. Let me get the console over here. 492.168 root if. Okay, so this is similar to your cloud. You will get the same console over there. And if I give the command if config over here, Linux command, so you can see right now my VM is mapped to Ethernet 0 or Ethernet 1, right? Then this is the PNet 0, PNet 1, whatever. Now Ethernet 0 and Ethernet 1 will not be there on the Linux. If you do it on Google Cloud or AWS, it will be some other name. So you have to run few commands to change it to ETH 0. Then only your ETH NG will recognize your VM.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm actually trying to sign up for it. So let me sign up and I can show this the cloud lab to you on Monday, and I'll give you the steps as well.
Okay.
All right. All right, guys, any further questions? Okay. I think, Ellen, I don't have your email address. Could you please share your email address over the chat so that I can include you in the emails for the images that
Oh,
I'll send?
sure. Let me see. Chat and make it to no, not everyone. Uh, uh, I just send it to you. Mm,
Thank you. Yep, I got it.
right. Did you get my second message?
Yep, Ellen. No problem. That's fine.
Okay. Mm, I'm gonna beg you a little bit. I just shoot you another chat, Prof.
It's supposed to be admin, right?
Yes, so once you switch on your image, you have to wait for a couple of minutes because still the service is running and it takes some time to switch on the services, and then only it will
Okay.
accept the password.
Oh, okay.
So you
Yeah.
can see now it's working.
Yeah.
Okay, management. Okay, so right now let me just go ahead and take the remote of my log into my Palo Alto. All right, guys. So first we'll start with something called as zones over here. So I'll delete this.
So this is where it become more interesting.
Sorry.
So now I was saying that this is where it become more interesting.
Yes. Okay. Now, so first of all, let's start with the zones. That's the main point over here because as we know, like Palo Alto is a zone-based firewall. Okay. Now, what are zones actually? So you see the interfaces over here, then you have zones. So let us first understand what are zones. Okay. So your Palo Alto firewall uses security zones actually specifically to analyze, control, and log network traffic. Okay. So this this I mean, so what is happening over here? Your security zones, your Palo Alto firewall, it uses the security zones to analyze, control, and log network traffic. So as it traverses from one zone to another zone. Okay, that means you define zones, and it is actually what is doing. Your Palo Alto is analyzing, controlling the traffic, logging network traffic as it travels from one zone interface to another zone interface. Okay, so what is the basic meaning of zone? So zones are actually nothing, it's a logical group of network that contains what particular type of traffic, or a segregator. Okay, so zones logically group networks that contain particular types of traffic that are contained within defined security classification. Okay, example like your internet, you can define a zone as internet, or let's say your DMZ, compute, okay, uses data center applications, like this. So depending on the type of traffic you want to segregate, you can define zones over here. Now zones are defined in two parts. One is your intra zone, and the another one is your inter zone. Okay, now security zone contains one or more physical virtual interfaces, and always remember an interface can belong to only one zone. Okay, so whatever interfaces we have over here, it can belong to only one zone. Always remember that. Now intra-zone traffic by default, so intra-zone traffic by default, it allows traffic to flow between interfaces that exist in same zone. That means if Ethernet 1/1 I am mapping to DMZ zone, and Ethernet 1/2 I am mapping to again same DMZ zone, that means what? The traffic is allowed by default. That is known as your intra-zone. Okay, and interzone by default denies traffic flowing between interfaces that exist in different zones. So let's say if I have Ethernet 1/3 on internet zone, so that means the traffic from DMZ to internet and internet to DMZ is by default denied. Guys, clear till here? Understanding zones basics?
Yeah.
Yes. So let me
Yes.
see. Okay, I see.
Okay, now always remember one more thing: your security policy or the firewall rules, they are applied directly to the zones, not interfaces. Okay, security policy rules are applied to zones to allow or deny the traffic. Okay, your QoS,
So
yeah, 1 second, guys. Just one,
Anupam,
yeah, just give me 1 second. Let me complete this. So your QoS is also applied to zone. You perform your NAT also on zone basis. Okay. Yes. Please go ahead. with the question.
Yeah, Anupam. Uh, when it comes to interfaces, so if there are two interfaces, then both the interfaces will be in one zone. It can't be sharing two zones, right?
So let's say if you have your Palo Alto firewall over here, this is your internet, this side is your DMZ, and this side is your let's say compute, and you have one more interface towards same DMZ. So you can see over here, I'm defining interfaces, and actually those are coming from what? Zones over here. I'm defining the zones first. So now your question is that one interface should be mapped to only one zone. Okay.
Yes.
So can you repeat the question once again?
Yeah, I was like with the zones, if there are two interfaces,
Mm-hmm.
one interface can it can be this way, like one interface will be in one zone and the other interface can be in another zone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's possible, right?
Yeah. So that is your interzone actually. So let's say you have three interfaces, one, two, three. First one you put into DMZ, second one to DMZ, and third one into internet zones. So this is your interface, and these are your zones. Okay,
Yes.
this is what you're asking.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So by default, between one and two interface,
Traffic is allowed.
as it is traffic is allowed, and with three it is not allowed. Yeah.
Yeah, correct. Okay, just give me a moment, guys. Okay, guys. So right now, what we'll do, we'll see quickly types of zones that we have. So we have something called as tap zone, layer 2 zone, layer 3 zone, virtual wire zone, and tunnel zone. Okay, so these are types of zones that you can configure in Palo Alto firewall. Okay, guys. Now understand over here, this is the zone type. Okay, now what kind of interfaces I will have for a tap zone? Obviously, the interface types also I need to choose is tap. Okay, now guys, I'm talking about mapping over here. When I'm defining an interface, I have to make sure that it should be a part of some kind of zone. Okay, so depending on the zone type, I have to define my interface type as well. So for a layer 2 zone, I have to select what? A layer 2 interface. Okay, for a layer 3, obviously a layer 3 interface. For virtual wire zone, virtual wire interface. And for tunnel, no interfaces or tunnel zones, because this is mapped to what? To this. Understood?
Yes.
Okay, now guys, zones, they need to be created and configured by assigning a zone name and specifying the zone type over here. Okay, interface do not have to configure prior to zones creation. You know, you can actually assign an interface to a zone later on also, and zone names are case sensitive. So we'll just quickly see the types over here. So if I click on zones, then I click on add. So you can see over here I can give a name. So let's say if I give as DMZ type over here, so I can select tap, virtual wire, layer 2, layer 3, tunnel. Clear, guys? Or else if you don't
Yes,
want
sir.
to, sorry. Okay, so also there's one more thing, guys. You don't have to create zones altogether. So what you can do, you can actually go to the interface, configuration. The interface type over here, you can see the same thing what I was talking about. It has the same tap HA for high availability that we'll talk about in later sessions. Virtual wire layer 2, layer 3. So if I select layer 3, the security zone, it says none, right? So what you can do, you can click on this new zone. It will take you to the zone creation page directly. So you can create the zone over here. Let's say if I create DMZ and click on OK, and then I can click on OK. If I click on go to zones, so you can see that DMZ is already there. And the interface virtual system which is mapped is Ethernet 1/1. Clear, guys? Any doubts?
Yeah, for example, how can we know that we need a layer 3 or layer 2 zone?
That depends again on your company requirement. That is on your company requirement. You need a layer 2 traffic or layer 3 traffic. So let's say if you need a layer 2 traffic, then you have to define a layer 2 interface along with layer 2 zone if you're not doing the routing. If you're doing the routing, so the difference between layer 2 and layer 3 is that, so let's say if I take this as Ethernet 1/3, if I take this as layer 2, so can you see the difference over here? So what is the first thing it says? It says what? Assign interface to VLAN and security zone. If I change the the interface type to layer 3, your virtual router, your routing instance gets part of it. So that's the basic difference. If you're defining layer 2 as per the company requirement, if they want it to a layer 2 traffic, then you can assign a layer 2 and assign the VLAN. If it's layer 3, then you can assign a layer 3 and do the routing instance. Clear?
Okay, thank you.
And what about tap, Anupam? What's the
Uh,
meaning of tap?
Tap, I will show you later. It's coming up. I'll show you what is tap, virtual wire, layer 2, layer 3.
Yes.
Alright, guys, so let me just give a moment here. Okay, yeah. So one more thing, guys, on the interface on the same page, you will see that you have VLAN. If you want to have a loopback, you can define, and if you're running IPsec, so you can define the tunnels over here. Okay. Now let's come back to the interface again. So interface, you can see we have 5 types: tap, HA, virtual wire, layer 2, and layer 3. So what's a tap interface? As you asked, a tap actually interface, it monitors traffic that is connected to a network, switches, mirror or span port. So guys, have you worked on switch, mirror or span port earlier?
And yes, in switches.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think we've configured the port. I think in monitoring SLA before, out right?
Yes. So for the IP SLA for the monitoring,
Yeah, we did.
yeah. So for I
Yeah.
mean that's what we use TAP for. So whenever you have a network switch which is running a span port or a mirror port,
It's fine. Hmm.
yeah. So if you connect, if you want the firewall to come into picture, so you define a tap port. Now what this tap port does, this mirror traffic is forwarded by your switch port to this firewall's tap interface, and then your firewall can analyze for app ID, user ID, content ID. Okay, or like other traffic, just like any other normal data traffic that would pass through the firewall. Okay, now before you allow the traffic to be logged or checked, you have to obviously configure a security policy, and that policy has to be on the tap zone. Okay, guys. Tap tap interfaces are very easy to configure because they don't I mean, once you implement without disruption to your actual traffic and your actual existing network, a tap will be can be configured. And tap mode, it will provide you more visibility in traffic logs. So if I talk about the traffic logs, if you have licensed version firewall, if you click on ACC, here you will see all the activity, network thread block tunnel activity. Okay, so this information can be used over here to help configure security policy rules and make other firewall changes. All right, guys. Now I have one question over here, guys. If I am configuring a tap interface, let's say if I'm configuring this interface type Ethernet 1/1 as tap, okay, and I'm defining a zone also. Let's say tap. If I say tap over here, okay, and I define a security policy to allow the traffic on this coming from this tap interface or zone going outside. So do you think the traffic which I will allow or deny, the traffic will be managed by this firewall?
No, say what's your question?
So my question is the tap traffic, once I define the tap zone and interface and the security policy to either block, allow, or whatever it is to this particular traffic. So do you think your firewall will actually manage the tap traffic?
I thought that traffic is just I thought it was just to sniff your packet, your traffic, right? If you want to sniff something.
Exactly.
I,
That's correct. You're correct. So guys, tap traffic is not managed by this by Palo Alto firewall. That means not managed means you cannot block, allow, or shape it. It is just a sniffer just for the visibility what is going on, and it will also do the app ID, user ID, content check, and it will give you a report over here. Clear, guys? Everyone? Any issues with tap?
Can you
Uh,
can
so,
you configure
so
can you configure this Narcissus? Can you configure a sub interface as a tap?
Let me just. So let's
so
say
no security
one second.
policies can be.
One second, Aditya. Let me just answer Narcis. I'll get back to you. Hold on. So let's say if I configure interface type over here as tab, click on OK, and can you see this over here? This is grayed out at the bottom.
yes.
Yeah.
Uh,
Add
So
sub interface. Yep.
yeah, it cannot be. So only interface you can do is layer 3 and I think layer 2 as well. So if I go to layer 2, click on OK. So yes, only layer 3 and layer 2 sub interface, no tab.
all right, thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, Aditya, please go ahead with your question.
So no security policies can be applied on that interface. So
Security policy, you will just allow, you will define to, for the firewall to analyze the traffic for the visibility, not to allow, or I mean, the
okay,
traffic will not be managed by Palo Alto.
yeah, yeah, got it.
Okay, guys, are we clear on this zone traffic? I know it's confusing, but you just have to understand the logic. If you have any issues, you can stop me. I'll explain it again and again numerous times. But we have to make sure that we understand this logic. Okay. Now moving on to the next one. After tap, we have something called as virtual wire. Okay, guys, HA will be discussed later on. I won't cover HA right now. HA is actually used for high availability. That I'll show you when we are doing the high availability classes. So right now, if I select virtual wire, so what is virtual wire actually? This virtual wire interface is used to pass traffic through a firewall by binding two Ethernet interfaces and allowing traffic to pass between them. So what is virtual wire actually? It is actually placed between an existing firewall and a secured network to again to enable the analysis of traffic before actually you migrate from a legacy firewall to a Palo Alto firewall. Okay, so let's say if you have your network, you have a secure network, and then you have then you have an existing firewall, and you want to migrate to Palo Alto. So what you can do, Palo Alto, they have given this option, a virtual wire interface, where you can actually place define the virtual wire interface between the existing firewall and the secure network, and actually it will do the analysis of the traffic. Now remember guys, no IP or MAC address. So you can see right now. So if I select, let's say this one, layer 2, and if I, sorry, interface 2, if I select layer 3, so what I have, I have the IPv4, okay, and obviously this will have a a layer 2 address, also MAC address. But the moment if I go ahead and define this as virtual wire, so there's nothing, okay. So you can define the virtual wire security zone. So what is happening over here, guys? Just remember that no IP or MAC addresses are assigned to virtual wire interfaces, and there's absolutely no routing or switching on a virtual wire interfaces. So when a virtual wire interface receives a frame or a packet, it ignores all the layer 2 and layer 3 addresses for switching or routing purposes. But it applies your security or NAT policy rules that before passing an allowed frame or packet over the virtual wire to the second virtual wire interface and onto the network device. So what I mean over here is, so let me actually draw a diagram and explain it to you in a better way. Sorry. So let's say, as you can see the drawing, right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's say this is your existing firewall over here, and this is your Palo Alto firewall, and then will come your switch and your users over here. Okay. So this is the router. This is your existing firewall. This is a Palo Alto firewall switch. Now let's say, guys, you know, earlier it was there was a direct link from existing firewall to the switch. Okay, now you want to place a Palo Alto firewall, but you want to analyze the traffic beforehand. So what you do, you will actually take an interface over here. From here will connect to the Palo Alto. You will define this interface as virtual
As a
wire,
virtual.
yeah, and on the other end also you will define the same interface as virtual wire. That means the pass through traffic. Okay, so once you do this, that's why I meant, guys, no IP or MAC address is assigned, and your once the packet is entering the Palo Alto, there's no checking of your layer 2 or layer 3. It's just that uh, you know I mean your security or NAT policy are checked before passing an allowed frame, and it will actually check what exactly is happening with the traffic. Now remember guys, two virtual interfaces, each in a virtual wire zone. So the zone can be the same or different, whatever it is, but in the security policy you can define accordingly. And a virtual wire object are required to complete a virtual wire configuration. Okay. Now, you know, if the both, if these both interfaces are in different zone, that means what? Interzone. So guys, remember, inter means different zones, intra means same zone. So if you define these two interfaces in a different zone, that becomes what? Interzone, correct? So all the traffic inspected by security policy rules sessions can be established. Then you can check for user ID, app ID, whatever it is. And if the both interfaces are in same zone, that is your intra zone, all the traffic will be allowed by default, and session can be easily established. So however, you can also check for user ID, app ID, content ID, and perform login, QoS, and etc. NAT and DOS protection, etc. Okay. Now one more thing, guys. If I go back to my Palo Alto and so I have selected virtual wire, click on OK. Now you can see virtual wire, I can again have sub interfaces. All right. Now, why do you need sub interfaces? So that you can actually classify traffic according to the VLAN tags, IP addresses, IP range, subnets. Okay. Now, if I go to virtual wire over here, this is so when I was talking about virtual wire, I told you, right, you need three things: the zone, interface, and the virtual wire. So what you have to do, you have to click on virtual wire over here. This is the virtual wire object. You can define the object over here. You can define the interface, the exit, and the I mean the ingress and the egress. Okay. Tags allowed if you want to define any VLAN tags over here. Okay. And you can see multicast firewalling. Have you heard of multicast? So this
Yes.
is for the multicast traffic actually. Okay, if you want to if you want to be able to apply security policy rules to multicast traffic going through the virtual wire, you can define this multicast firewalling. Okay, otherwise the multicast traffic is transparently forwarded across virtual wire. It won't be blocked. And the second one says what? Link state pass through. So select this option if you want to bring down the other port in a virtual wire when a downlink
Mm,
state is detected.
mm.
Clear?
Clear.
Sorry.
So I have a quick question.
Yes, please.
This now. Hey, what would be the main difference between virtual wire and layer two?
So
NFS?
virtual wire, you are analyzing the traffic, and layer 2, you're actually configuring the VLANs. Okay, so virtual wire, you're defining the virtual wire object and security zones. And if I select to layer 2, this is like a layer 2. You can define the VLAN and security zone.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
So the difference is just between the traffic and the VLAN that you identify, right?
Yes, so actually virtual wire is doing what? It is actually, traversing your traffic from one virtual wire interface to other, but a layer 2 interface won't do that. Layer 2 interface will be specifically to switch traffic between other layer 2 interfaces.
Is there we do have a lab for the virtual wire?
We
So
have,
maybe it might be more.
we have,
It will be more.
yeah, I will take, I mean, I have labs for each and everything.
Okay, then, no
So,
problem then. I think maybe we'll be more explain. We can
yes,
understand it better with the lab.
yeah, I'll show you virtual wire, everything. Guys, clear till here? Any doubts? Okay.
Good.
So the next will be your layer 2. Layer 2, as I've mentioned before, it needs a VLAN security zone. Okay, and layer 2 interface is what? It is used to switch traffic between other layer 2 interfaces. So before switching, before switching actually, before switching can take place in this firewall, each layer 2 must have a VLAN object that is over here. Okay, an assignment of interfaces that belong to same VLAN but exist in different layer 2 zones. It enables you to analyze, shape, manage, and decrypt traffic. Layer 2 can route to other layer 3. Okay, so if I define layer 2 over here, other layer 3, I can actually do a routing. All right. Now, only one more instance over here, guys, that layer 2 interfaces do not participate in spanning tree other than forward PPDUs.
Oh, let's say on this NFS, for instance, the NFS E12, which we have defined as layer 2. So on the VLAN assignment, how many VLAN can we assign on that NFS? Yeah.
Only
Can we
one.
assign more than only one, or we cannot assign more than one VLAN?
So right now, okay, let me just show it to you in a proper way.
Okay.
Let me actually go to the objects. Sorry. Uh, Actually, I can go over here. So let's say if I give a VLAN object 1,
Mm-hmm.
and so you can see right now VLAN interface. That means this is your SVI. But right now we don't have any SVI. That means what, your switch virtual interface. So we are not doing the layer 3 interface. Now what I can do,
Okay.
I can actually add multiple layer 2 over here under this VLAN over here.
Okay.
Okay, so let's say if I go to this interface and if I make all these three as layer 2, layer layer 2 over here, and this one is also layer 2. Okay, and if I go to
Mm-hmm.
VLANs, then click on add. Let's say if I give the name as VLAN object 1, you can see right now. So I can actually map all the interfaces that I've defined in the layer 2 over here. You're getting my point?
Yeah. Okay. I see. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you can add over here the layer 2 instances or layer 2 interfaces over here one by one. And let's say your layer your Ethernet 1/4 is the SVI for VLAN object 1. So whatever Ethernet 1/4 IP you have given, it will come up over here and you can define it.
All right.
Okay. Okay. Now the same goes for, guys, for layer 2 sub interfaces. You can actually define multiple sub interfaces over here. You can define the tags also, and obviously you have to define the VLAN and security zone. Okay. And talking about your next layer, that is layer 3. Obviously layer 3, this is the last one. You need a virtual router. What is virtual router? It is just a routing instance that will check your routing table. How it is done, how it is checked, will come to that later on, later part. But as of now, understand virtual router is the one which has your routing instance. Then you have to define the security zone. Okay, and then you have to give the IP. You can give either static, point to point over Ethernet, okay, or your DHCP. Advanced tab will have all these details, your MTU management profile, ARP entries. Okay, now guys, what is this management profile? This is only required if you want your interface to be reachable over different services. Okay, now what I mean over here, let me just draw a diagram, quickly show you. Let's say if I have a firewall, Palo Alto firewall. Okay, this side is your internet and this side is your DMZ. Now the DMZ server IP is 10.1.1.1/24, and your layer 3 IP is 10.1.1.100/24. Okay, now from your server you want to ping the default gateway. So for your server, this interface will be what, your default gateway, and you want to check the reachability. So you will do what? You will do ping. Okay. To enable this, by default, what will happen if you haven't enabled the interface management profile, this will not work. So you have to define a name over here, and you have to permit a service. So once you permit a service ping, then from the DMZ server to the default gateway, if you ping, then the ping you will get the reachability. Guys, clear?
Oh, yeah, can you come again on that? I wasn't paying attention there. Can you come again on the management interface?
Sure.
The management, yeah,
Oh, okay, hold on.
management profile or something.
Yep. So let's say if this is your Palo Alto firewall, and on Palo Alto firewall, this interface is your Ethernet 1/1 that is connected to the DMZ. So some server over here with IP 10.1.1.1/24. Now this Ethernet 1/1 is a layer 3 interface mapped to layer 3 zone, which has an IP 10.1.1.100. Now for this server to go out to other zones or to the network, to other network, this will act as what? A default gateway, correct? For this server. And if you want to check the reachability of this server to the default gateway, then you will do what? You will log into the server, you will set ping 10.1.1.100. So by default, you will not get any response from ping. Why? Because you don't have any interface management profile enabled. So if you enable
Okay.
the interface management profile, that means what? You are enabling a particular service that your business requires. Let's say I want to enable ping for this interface. So I can actually, when once I ping from the server, I will get the replies. Clear?
So which
Okay.
means in other words, you have to go and associate that with one of the service that you want to do, right? Like ping or FTP or whatever the case may be, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So you can see over here, there are different services: ping, telnet, SSH, HTTP, HTTPS or SCP, SNMP, response pages, user ID. And let's say, in live environment, what happens, guys, that, it's not only one. So they will be, you can actually define a few IPs over here, permitted IP addresses, which will have only access to ping that particular interface.
So I have a
Uh,
quick, I have a
Okay,
thought.
so okay, no, go ahead, Narcissus. Sorry.
Yeah, so I saw there on the management interface, SSH. Do we always have to use the management interface of a firewall for manage the firewall, or can we use any other interface?
So I think, Narcissus, today you joined for the first time. I have explained earlier. I'll give you the videos. You can go through it. Uh, this is only for the service. The name says interface management profile. That doesn't mean this is a management port or your management traffic. This is just to check the reachability of the interface over the service. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, so can this rule be customized in such a way that you can only allow access to a particular host or to a host subnet? Let's say you have a group of network
This is where you
and you
define it.
maybe yeah, so that's okay. The question is, can you define it just for a specific user in your organization, or you have to open that rule for the whole subnet?
So you can define, once you select the user ID, it will call for the user
Uh-huh.
ID also, along with the IP address. Okay. Or else you can have either user ID or no IP address.
Okay. Um, okay, let's say I have a router, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say I have a router, and from the network point of view, let's say maybe in the organization we have two team, maybe the network admin or network support, and I just want to allow ICMP, for testing just for the network admin. Yeah, I don't want to allow it for the network support guys, for instance. Can I just come here and define that, okay, let's say the network admin are on 10.5.0.0 and the network support are on 10.6.0.0 network, something like that.
Mhm.
can I define here a rule just allow SSH or ICMP just for the 10.5.0.0
Yes.
subnet?
Yes. Whatever
Okay,
subnet you want to allow, you have to define over here. So let's say what you said,
10.5.
10.5.5.0/24. Okay.
24.
Let's say this is your network admin subnet. You can define over here with the ping.
Okay,
This is permitted.
all right.
Cool, guys. So,
Okay.
any more further questions, guys? One more thing. Layer 3, I forgot to show you the sub interfaces. Hold on. Layer 3, click on OK. No IP address, nothing required. Then you click on, interface and sub interface. Then you can actually define the IP address and the virtual routers over here, and the security zones, obviously. Now, guys, just one more information over here. The layer 3 interfaces are assigned to, always remember, 802.1q VLANs. Okay.
I'll say again.
So let's say for each Ethernet port configured as layer 3,
Mm-hmm.
you can define additional logical sub interfaces that I've mentioned over here.
Oh, all right.
Okay. So these layer 3 sub interface possess the same capabilities of as layer 3 interface, but with a big difference is this tag.
The
Tag
tag.
means
Okay.
VLAN, which is your 802.1q. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry. Guys, any more further questions with anyone?
Yeah, Anupam.
Mhm.
The management interface which you have showed,
Yep.
it is basically the gateway interface, right?
It is basically the firewall's interface, and if you want anyone from your network to check the reachability or do an HTTP to that interface, you
Okay.
can allow that.
Yeah, any interface. That means.
Any interface, yes.
Yeah.
So let's say, guys, let's say if I show it to you, Narcis, I think this will be informational to you as well. So let's say, guys, I've told you, once you take a Palo Alto firewall out of the box, you will have an OOP management port. Okay, so you connect it to your computer, take the CLI, then you define an IP address, you take the GUI access. Okay, so from GUI access, then you start defining the layer 3 interfaces. So layer 3, you have 1, 2, 3 as layer 3 interfaces. All right, now let's say
Mm-hmm.
layer 3 interfaces. So let's say this port Ethernet port 2, you want this to become one of the management function for your graphical, for your GUI. Okay, so whatever IP you define over here, so let's say on Ethernet 2, you have defined IP as 10.1.1.1. Okay, and you define that any user coming from 10.1.1.0 subnet should be able to take a GUI access. So for this, you have to define the IP, the security policy, virtual router, everything is done, but still the user not able to access. Why? Because you have not created the interface management profile. So you have to go over there and allow the HTTPS.
Thank you. That makes sense.
Yep, cool.
That's that's very cool.
Well, so for every for it doesn't have to be the management interface. It can be any interface that you
Can be
allow the
any,
HTTPS.
yes. Can be
As
anything,
long as
as depends on
is on
your
the public,
business. I'm sorry, go ahead.
as long as it is on the public interface, like the on trust.
Exactly. So, it all depends on the business requirement.
Yeah, the reason why I was asking that question because some company they will say we use that at the beginning just for initial configuration and then we don't use the
Then after
management
that, we turn it off.
disable it.
Whatever.
Yeah, you
Oh,
you can just remove the interface man profile whenever you want. You can add it back. All right, guys. So this is the class today. I
Anupam,
think. Yeah, please go ahead.
yeah, just one last question.
It's okay.
I
You can
just
ask questions.
yeah, just with layer 2, you told me that regarding spanning tree,
Uh-huh.
I didn't get that. So what's with Palo Alto?
So Palo Alto, actually, what I meant is that it won't run in spanning tree.
Okay. So usually in Cisco, it's by default spanning tree is enabled.
Correct. So that means what? Every device layer 2 interfaces, they're participating in spanning tree. So Palo Alto will not participate in spanning tree. It will just forward the PPDUs.
Okay. So then this may create loops in some cases. So how to avoid it?
I'll explain to that. I'll come to that when I'm showing you the lab.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Prof. So, I don't know if you had a chance, if you already went over the low back interface, because I want to understand the behaviors of the low back, because I know on the Palo, the low back actually behave totally different compare on how it behave on the Cisco devices. Can you
Yes, so loopback actually, what it does, I'll show it when I'm doing the lab on the
okay,
IPsec.
all right,
Okay, I'll cover that for you. Don't worry.
all right.
All right, guys. Any more questions? Further questions? Anyone? Okay, so let me actually create a notepad so that I don't forget your queries. What I've promised Elaine, I'll show him loop back interface. What else, guys? Anyone remember?
From okay, anyway, maybe me and Elaine will look at this, then come back to you because I'm having issue connecting my server to the internet. So I think I'll get ahead with I'll if I have any issue I'll let you know.
Okay, cool. Narcis, I think I was able to complete your query
Yeah,
today. Yep.
yeah, that's good.
All right.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, about the issue, you
Spanning
can take a look at it. So,
Okay, no problem, man.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and the spanning tree thing.
Yes, sorry guys. So I'll just confirm again. From tomorrow, the timing of this class will be 4 p.m. IST. So whatever time you're joining, you just have to join 3 hours earlier. Aditya, Elaine,
Okay.
Eloy, Narcis, Sudesh, TK, please confirm. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine. I'm good.
Yes. All good, all good. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, guys. So I will hold on. Let me just check. Narcis, I don't have your email address, please.
yeah, I can send it to the chat.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'll do that right now. I'm doing it right now.
And you'll be sending the notes today itself or tomorrow?
I'm just praying that
Regarding
my internet, I have a fiber link. It should come back. Otherwise, I'm facing a big issue today. If it comes back, then I'll share all the steps, all the documents, and everything.
yeah, because we'll get ready with the installation process
Yes, I know.
tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. I'll try. I'll try that.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, guys. Thank you. So I'll start tomorrow, 4 p.m. IST, and we'll start from the virtual router.
All right.
Okay. Thank you. Have a nice day, everyone.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.